Thank you, Madam President. Pakistan congratulates France and you, Madam President, for a successful presidency of the Council this month and for convening this important debate on the dire situation in Palestine and the Middle East. We welcome the high-level participation in this debate, and we thank the Secretary General for his substantive briefing and his eloquent appeal for peace this morning. Over the past 3 months, the world has witnessed the most brutal slaughter of civilians in the 21st century. Over 25,000 civilians, mostly children and women, have been killed by the Israeli onslaught in Gaza. Over 2 million have been displaced, and humanitarian help has been deliberately impeded by the occupying Israeli army. Madam President, this brutal and indiscriminate killing of innocents and the suffering imposed on an entire population amounts to genocide, as asserted in the case filed by South Africa in the International Court of Justice. Every tenet of international humanitarian law has been violated with impunity by the Israeli occupation. It is sad that despite the calls by the General Assembly in 2 resolutions, despite the near unanimous votes in this Security Council, the international community has failed to stop this genocide taking place in front of our eyes. As we feared, violence and war has spread to adjacent areas of Palestine, to the Israeli-Lebanon border, to Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. Unless the Israeli war machine is stopped, there is every likelihood of further escalation in which many nations may be engulfed. A heavy responsibility rests on the Security Council for having failed to prevent the continuation of Israel's war and its atrocities against the Palestinian people in Gaza and the accompanying brutalities in the West Bank. We welcome the diplomatic efforts deployed to revive the prospects for a 2-state solution. It is the only viable option for realizing a sustainable peace between Israel and the Palestinians and between Israel and the Arab and Islamic world. Unfortunately, despite world opinion, despite the advice of its closest allies and of many of its own people, the extremist Israeli leadership remains adamant in continuing this brutal war and rejecting the prospect of a Palestinian state and the 2-state solution. This will consign the Middle East to perpetual conflict. Madam President, it is now time for the Security Council, for the entire membership of the United Nations, to consider measures by which to reverse this wanton rejection of peace. We hope the Council will be able, finally, to adopt a resolution demanding a complete cessation of hostilities, full access to humanitarian assistance for the besieged population of Gaza, and international protection for the Palestinian people. This revived peace process should be conducted within the framework of the Security Council with the involvement of all relevant states and stakeholders. If the Israeli leadership persists in refusing peace, the Security Council, the General Assembly, and indeed all United Nations member states, must take steps to hold it accountable. There are numerous precedents of measures that can and have been taken to persuade compliance with the decisions of the Security Council and the General Assembly. Madam President, also, in order to ensure the inevitability of the two-state solution, it is also time to admit Palestine as a full member of the United Nations. Beyond the eloquent words heard in this Council's debate, we look for concrete steps to halt the slaughter of innocents and bring peace to Palestine, to Israel, and to the Middle East. I thank you, Madam President.